depressed. I've done that. It doesn't work. But it's to do something to take away some of his power, right? The best way to take away some of his power is to flip the House. Ideally, flip the Senate. We'll talk more about that later. But flipping the House, you give one entity out of his control. If you're paying attention to the news, you know that there's big fights in Texas and in California about redistricting in this very weird and totally not normal way, like mid-decade redistricting. They just redistrict, right? Not new information, just political power play by Republicans and Democrats responding. It's gross. It's super gross. It's not what our democracy is supposed to be about. We have this amazing gift. We have the 6th District of Kentucky, which as an open seat is the most competitive it will ever be, especially at a Trump midterm after his overreach. People are ready for change. They don't want to see more of the same. And we can pick a new direction here in Lexington and the 15 counties that surround Fayette County. So it's a really exciting opportunity, but standard practice, what we've been doing isn't going to work. We need to do more. We need to be thoughtful. We need to be strategic. Progress Kentucky has a plan to do it. It's a big plan. It's going to take time. It's going to take energy. It's going to take resources. And we need your help in all of that stuff. Give us time, give us energy, give us resources. Right now, how about you make a monthly contribution via our secure online website, Act Blue, to help turn Kentucky 6 purple or blue. We're going to turn it blue, actually. So $6, $6 a month for the 6th district, $16 a month for the 16 counties, $600 just because. Why not? Do it. It all adds up. None of it's politically, none of it is actually tax deductible. I'm sorry, but it is going to go to real impact and I think real change. So that's my long plead. Now we'll get to the news. We'll get to our co-host. So let's check in with our co-host. Who are you? Where are you? And in honor of Tyler Childers, who's on your biting list? Nate, what you got?
The biting list. Hey, folks, it's Nate Orshan coming live and direct from Kit and my house here in South Frankfort, just a mere stone's throw from the Capitol building. And today on my biting list, well, there's a tiny story that goes with this. So some of you might know that Kit helped co-found this weekly protest in front of the Mitch McConnell building, otherwise known as the seat of the Republican Party here in Kentucky. It's also just a couple blocks away from where I'm sitting on Capitol Avenue. And they call it Megaphone Monday. And it's been growing and growing. And folks just come out on a Monday afternoon and wave signs and chant and try to bring attention to the awfulness of the Kentucky Republican Party and I guess the National Republican Party. Well, this week, for the first time, a kind of a saboteur showed up, a conservative dude who looked normal at first, but then he started shouting apparently sort of wild, awful things as though he were like some caricature of a left-winger. I'm not going to repeat them, but he was obnoxious. He was yelling at cars. Then he was yelling at people. He's just not a good guy. Hopefully he won't keep showing up, but they may have to take measures if they do, such as, I guess, getting a permit, and then maybe it'd be easier for cops to show up and, get in this guy's face. But anyway, suffice it to say, I'm not going to name him either, but this gentleman who knows who he is, who doubtless is watching us right now.
Doubtlessly watching.
He would be on my biting list.
Nice. And I don't think I've talked to you, Nate. It's been a minute since you've been on the show, so glad to have you back.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've talked to you about the Tyler album. What do you think of the album? I
love it. It's really, if you didn't know that it was Rick Rubin producing, you would still think that it was some kind of rock and roll influence, because some of those songs are just really great. The one like watch out where you talking about snakes. So I'm a bad fan, but anyway, just the the production is something like out of the early 90s. You had like Mitchell Froom, Chad Blake doing all these great albums. That the Sheryl Crow album, self-titled Sheryl Crow, which has, a lot of great songs on it. It reminds me of that kind of production. So anyway,
I was pretty
love
thrilled
it.
when I heard that like Rick Rubin was going to work with Tyler, and I think the outcome was, kind of exactly what I'd hoped for to a degree.
Yeah.
A couple throwaways I'm not as excited about, but by and large, just a bunch of bangers, great
bangers.
That's just that voice, the the literal and the figurative voice that Tyler brings to that music is just so fantastic.
And he's swearing up a storm.
There's a lot of swearing. There's more swearing in the music than there ever used to be, Nate. I don't know about your your virgin ears, if you can
okay, all right. Well, I was going to ask you if your daughters had heard it, but I guess
they have. Okay. And every time certain songs come up, my wife's eyebrow raises high. But Taylor Swift has some swearing that she does in her songs too, so it's not like they haven't heard the and they live with me, so they have in fact heard these words.
They're well trained in the art of swearing.
All right, so I'm Aaron. I'm in Chilesburg and Lexington, as we all know, and I'm going to say on my Biden list today, it's going to be Rand Paul. He's like back on there, and that is going to bring us to our first news story of the week, which is Rand Paul, as I said, kind of back up to his old tricks. We have given a lot of love the past week or two to our libertarian twins, Massey and Paul, because they have taken some. We give them credit for taking, strong, courageous stances, standing on principle, whether that's, extra legal murders by our military, or whether it's the Epstein list. Some important stuff they've done. But I just want to make this super clear. Just because we have pointed out when that broken clock is on the right time, it does not mean we endorse them as an accurate timepiece. You know what I'm saying? So Rand had a great chance to show some continued spine, to challenge Trump's wholly inappropriate health secretary, RFK Jr. The fact that he has fired former leadership of the CDC, the fire leadership and people who quit. They were in the Senate today for a hearing detailing kind of how they went from hired and confirmed to fired and vilified as untrustworthy, according to RFK, in the matter of like a month. Right. So really just horrible stuff that's happening over there. And the guy's super just not qualified to do this work and is going to make everyone less safe. He's making everyone less safe as we speak. So that stuff was being detailed. Wonderful opportunity for Rand Paul to kind of dig in there and make sure public health was being maintained, or that we elevate where it was being threatened. What did he do? How did he spend his time? Challenged her on the COVID vaccine, of course. Right, whether it could stop transmission and whether babies should get a hepatitis B shot. Oh, Rand, not an immunologist, but an ophthalmologist. And he's trying to score political points over his vaccine skepticism, probably to regain some mega favor by way of Maha credibility. But yeah, so the fact that he was wasting his time with that stuff is, it's par for Rand Paul's course. His principled stance as a vaccine skeptic, as an anti-COVID, as a non-mask wearer. Remember that? He didn't wear a mask and, actually did, I think, threaten a lot of old senators when he got COVID. And then also from Politico, this story, the former CDC chief medical officer, Deborah Horry, told senators she quit after a decade of the agency because she said her role had been reduced to rubber stamping RFK Jr. She said Secretary Kennedy censored CDC science, politicized its process, and stripped leaders of independence. I could not in good conscience remain under those conditions. He said the agency's response to an uptick in measles was unlike previous outbreaks, citing Kennedy's spread of what she said were false claims about vaccines, pressure to insert unproven treatments into CDC guidance. Kennedy said things like vaccines had fetal parts in them, and she had to send a note out to the leadership team to correct the misinformation. Asked to include things in our toolkits for physicians that weren't actually proven to be useful treatments. So yeah, really bad stuff coming from RFK Jr.'s leadership there. You know what Rand Paul should have said? What he should have said is that the U.S. has lost herd immunity to measles. thanks to the expansion of anti-vax views, like RFK Jr.'s, Lexington and Central Kentucky had the largest measles outbreak in 30 years. And we've had cases throughout Lexington, throughout Woodford County, some in Louisville as well, just last month. But more than in 30 years, we are losing our herd immunity because of those views. It's really dangerous, and it should be called out. And we're calling it out. But I'm not a senator. I didn't have the chance to do it in front of the big megaphone. But Rand Paul, thanks for nothing, and that's why you're on my biting list. All right, so that's my story. I think we're going to move into story number 2, which is coming to us from Nate.
Yes, and I'll just add that I think you nailed it in terms of like he's trying to get back in the good graces such as he can with his party, and it's really disappointing. Like one step forward, saying the right thing, 2 steps back.
Broken clock, man. Do not set your watch on that broken clock just because every once in a while,
Alas. All right, so this week we're going to be talking a little bit about the Senate race. Mitch McConnell's retiring next year, 2026, and so the field is wide open. We have had Colonel Pam Stevenson, who threw her hat into the ring. When you're in the military, I guess it's still called a hat. I was going to make some kind of military joke, but anyway, your helmet. Colonel Pam threw her helmet into the ring. Thank you. And that was where things lay until just this past week when we've got two new Democrats who are saying they're going to run in the primary. So the first one, and they both have some interesting histories. The first one is Logan Forsyth. He is a former Secret Service agent, and now he's a Kentucky attorney, and he is doing it. He announced his bid. So I'm reading off of a story from Kentucky Lantern that was just published yesterday. He announced his bid for the seat yesterday, Tuesday. He said that his time in the Secret Service serving under multiple presidents was disheartening to his view of national politics. Yeah, I can see how that would be. But as far as like the kinds of things he's for, as an attorney, he does workers' rights. Yay. And he says he often works in rural areas of the state. Also, yay, because this is a very rural state, and we need people who can empathize and talk rural. And in fact, we're going to have somebody from Estill County, Victoria, coming up to talk with us about that too. But I digress. He's from Lyon County, now living in Lexington, and he told the Kentucky Lantern that his upbringing in poverty shaped much of his worldview today. So he's coming from a place where he can really understand what a lot of the folks are going through. And he said that things like Medicaid and food stamps were really important to his family, just like they are to a lot of people today here in Kentucky. And they're being taken away. So he told the Kentucky Lantern that he would want to focus on legislation to make living costs more affordable, increase the access to health care, and to support public education. Yes, and yes. So all great things. So that is Logan Forsyth, the former Secret Service agent, now lawyer and advocate for rural Kentucky. The other guy's name is Joel Willett. And he also comes from sort of a firearm carrying background. He's a former CIA officer. Well, I guess they carry firearms at one point or another. And he gained some fame, I guess, recently because he had his security clearance taken away by the Trump administration. Just part of this sweep of people, I guess, reading from the Guardian issue here. There were like 37 former and current intelligence officials whom Tulsi Gabbard just, yoinked their security clearance. And I guess, they can do that anytime they want. But, when they do it to a whole tranche of people, it really makes you suspicious. And in this case, this guy's got some kind of left-leaning background. So he was in the White House Situation Room, he said, after stints in the Army. So he was carrying a firearm. FBI and CIA. He left the government 10 years ago, but he's worked, in the private sector, and he's been able to use that security clearance up until recently. So he also is concerned with some of the stuff that people care about, especially in the rural sections of the state. Fentanyl addiction comes up high on the list. Apparently, both of his parents were addicted, and indeed, his dad just died 6 years ago of an overdose. Here's a good quote from the article. "Fentanyl didn't care that I worked at the White House. It affects all families, truly without fear or favor." Yeah, he gets it. So that's some good empathy right there. So that's all I got for Mr. Willett. But it's super interesting that both these people who have backgrounds that are sort of associated with the executive branch and sort of and not like not from USAID, but from parts of the executive branch that are sort of associated often with more right-wing leaning things, as I think like the Secret Service is known to be. So that's a super interesting background and that makes that so 3 out of 3: Colonel Pam, Logan Forsythe from the Secret Service, and Joel Willett from CIA. It's a trend. So we'll be keeping our eyes on these guys.
Hey, Parker, I don't know if you've got it queued up. Can we play any of the bio video, that launch video from Logan? It's super powerful. I thought you were working on that.
Bio video. Chop, chop, chop.
That launch video,
Bio
Parker.
Video. Parker's left
Parker's
the stage.
not paying attention. All right. Well, we'll see if we can pull it up later. Because again, there's a link in the show notes. It's really powerful. They're both pretty good, right? But I think, Logan's like backstory is just really hits you hard. So.
Yeah. Well, now I want to see it.
Well, maybe we can. Oh, hey, look.
My name is Logan Forsythe, and for years I was a special agent with the United States Secret Service. I protected a Republican president and a Democrat president. You know what? I would have taken a bullet for both. But my story starts here in Lyon County, Kentucky. Growing up, my mom used to joke that the lights and the water were never on at the same time because we usually couldn't afford both. She always worked multiple jobs, even cleaned our church for extra money to make ends meet. She is one of the hardest working people I've ever known. When I was 3, my dad walked out on me and my siblings. Years later, he came back. But those early years, they left a mark. I was stripping tobacco by the age of 7. I taught myself to fix engines by the age of 13. I did anything I could to help my family. But by my senior year of high school, we were living in one of these, a 1995 Dodge Caravan. Somehow, through all this, I kept my grades up. I played baseball and basketball. I made it to college, and then I got into law school. Shortly after, I joined the Department of Defense, and then I transferred into the United States Secret Service. Fast forward to a snowy Christmas Eve 5 years later, when a reckless driver broke my neck, shattered my back, and nearly killed me. That was the night that my career as a federal agent came to an end. Today, I'm an attorney working across rural Kentucky, helping families like the one I grew up in. My wife is a public school teacher. We've got 2 great kids, Maddox and Maggie. Recently, my son asked me, "Dad, what are you going to do to fix what's going on?" And his question hit me like a ton of bricks. So today, I'm announcing that I'm running for the United States Senate because our politicians have forgotten about families like mine and places like these. And nowhere is that clearer than the bill they just passed. It guts veterans' benefits. It slashes food assistance for groceries. These programs help my family get over the hump during the toughest of times. And it decimates Medicaid in our rural hospitals. All of this to hand billionaires another tax break. That pisses me off, and it should piss you off too. Look, I'm not a billionaire.
Yeah, really good stuff. I think it's really powerful. The bio is really like grounding. As you said, Nate, it doesn't like code liberal. Big city liberal.
Yeah, no, not at all.
A guy who's come from hard knocks and pulled himself up by his bootstraps, which apparently Republicans thought that was a good thing until they, started like billionaires that were born billionaires was more their vibe. But yeah, I think it's really impactful story. I think Joel's story is good too. His launch video I just watched before the show. We'll put a link there in the show notes, but it's not just launch video day. So we're not going to show that one.
Fine.
Anything else you want to cover on this story? The Senate race and what's going on?
No, I think this is plenty exciting, and it's good. I mean, I think it's not being too biased to say that Colonel Pam has the upper hand at the moment. But just because she's been on the scene so long, we know she's a great campaigner, and we know she's got a great message too. So, but everybody's abilities are honed when they have some competition. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. Really, really great to see. I will definitely get those two confused. the white guys with the national security backgrounds.
Yeah.
One's an attorney, one's not. I think maybe that's one way to tell them apart. Yeah, because that'll help.
Well, and Colonel Pam was JAG, right?
Yeah, no. So like attorneys with national security backgrounds, that's what's happening. Let's just say it though. Dude lived in a van. That is impressive to put that out there to the world. He's not ashamed about it. He's like owning his story. So really, really impressive stuff. We'll try to get them all on the show. Colonel Pam has been on here. She's not been on since she's been a Senate candidate this go round. We had her on last time. So yeah, we're definitely looking forward to pulling those folks in here. Remember though,
get them all.
We had such an interesting time. We had Amy McGrath running for the Senate seat. We had Mike Breuer, former Marine, also retired Marine, and then Charles Booker, all running, right?
Yeah.
For that Senate seat, which was not an open Senate seat, right? It's way harder to take down, even if it's the most, politically unpopular human on earth. It's hard to take down a sitting senator.
Yeah.
So now we have this open Senate seat. I was like wondering, like, shouldn't there be more people running? And the answer is yes, and here they are.
Yes. Good.
All right.
Things are getting better.
Things are getting better. Next up. So we're going to do our quick campaign corner. We're checking in with Andy McDonald with the Kentucky Solar Energy Society. We want to talk a little bit about Sunday, which is coming up literally on Sunday. And Andy is a longtime kind of expert in solar in Kentucky. He's done a ton of amazing work, great installations, very active at the State House when he needs to be to help move Kentucky forward in terms of solar policy. So really thrilled to have him joining us this week. Andy, how are you?
Hi, Aaron. Nate, good to see you.
So thanks for joining us. I was really interested. I was so glad that when Lane kind of reached out and brought you in for this idea of this kind of Sunday event. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of what's going to be happening on Sunday and why people should come on out?
Sure. Sunday is a global day of action organized, I guess, at least in part by Bill McKibben, who's been a longtime activist on the issue of climate change. And the day is intended to celebrate the great advances in renewable energy happening around the world. Amidst all the gloom and bad news recently, solar energy, wind energy, and other clean energy technologies have been growing exponentially. Their prices have been falling. The amount of solar and other renewables being used around the world is growing exponentially and overtaking other traditional energy sources. And it's really something to be really excited about. And so this is a day to celebrate that. There will be events across the United States and many other countries, and we'll be organizing an event in Frankfort.
Awesome. And I know like Kentucky isn't doing great on solar installation, right? Kind of statewide, our numbers, our renewable energy numbers kind of drag, and I think are behind most every other state. But solar does work in Kentucky, right, Andy?
Oh, absolutely. Kentucky is a great climate for using solar energy. Tens of thousands of people are now using solar in their homes and businesses around Kentucky. And there are indeed many large-scale, utility-scale solar installations in Kentucky. Kentucky is now a very popular place for large-scale solar, which demonstrates that it is a good climate for using solar. And it's popular for that because it has the transmission system is well interconnected to other parts of the United States. And so these large facilities are built where they have near access to the transmission grid, to where they can wheel that solar energy to other states where they are very eager to have clean energy. And
Yep.
so, yes, solar works great in Kentucky.
Awesome. And so there is a solar installation, a big solar installation of the Franklin County extension. That's what we'll be able to see out there.
Yes. So at our event on Sunday, this coming Sunday, September 21st, we will be at the Franklin County Cooperative Extension Office, which is at 101 Lakeview Court in Frankfort. And the Extension Office is nearly net zero for the office energy supply or electricity supply. They have a 68 kilowatt DC solar PV system on their roof. And they also have
for the uninitiated, what's PV? What are we talking about there?
Yeah, PV is photovoltaics. So that is the solar technology that generates electricity using sunlight. There are other solar technologies, of course. You can use solar energy for light. That's how we see. You can use solar energy for heat. You can use it to heat water. Solar PV or photovoltaics generate electricity and have become the predominant form of solar energy used around the world now.
Awesome. Hey, Nate, any questions or thoughts for Andy?
No, I think you covered stuff, but I wanted to point out that where the event's going to be is right next to Lakeview Park. So a lot of people who know Franklin County and in Frankfort know that. So head there on Sunday.
From 2 to 4. There's going to be some. I think we'll have some workshops, right, Andy? What can people learn about?
Yeah, we'll have a workshop on introduction to solar photovoltaics and battery systems. David Gomez, the owner of Daily Green Power, solar contractor, he will be giving that workshop, and that will include a tour of the solar facility at the extension office. David installed the system, so he's very familiar with it. And then that'll be at 2:15. And then at 3:15, I'm going to make a presentation. I'll talk about a case study about a renovation of my own house, which is an 1880s era farmhouse that I renovated to make net zero and passive solar. And so I will share with people how I accomplished that and what the results have been. Awesome. And that'll be at 3:15 on Sunday at the extension office.
Wow.
Excellent. And I'm just saying it right now, if any, Progress Kentucky viewers or supporters, Kernels of Truth viewers, Progress Kentucky supporters want to come on out, we'll wrap up at 4, and we're just around the corner from West 6 Farm. And I'm a pretty big fan of that location. So after, we'll see how solar, grows hops, and then those hops get turned into a wonderful beverage that'll be available at the West 6 Farm. So
we love our West 6.
We are not paid by West 6, to be clear.
No.
We have no sponsorship. This is an all volunteer effort. Sorry, Nate.
Indeed, we pay them.
All right. So any final thoughts, Andy, about kind of solar in Kentucky and why this Sunday is such a good idea?
Sure. Well, we need as many people as possible to get interested in solar energy. I encourage everyone who does not have solar on their home to consider it. Unfortunately, the tax breaks, there has been a tax credit for solar and battery storage of 30% of the project cost, which had been available through 2032. But the recent budget bill that was passed this summer is terminating that tax credit for solar for a residential tax credit as of the end of this year. So if you're interested in using solar and seems like something you might really want to do, you might want to act on that soon while the tax credit is still available. However, one bright spot is the tax credit for battery storage was not terminated. And so that will remain through 2032, which is very important. Batteries have become another critical clean energy technology that complement wind and solar very well. They're very modular. They can be used at the smallest scale and the largest scale. I also wanted to mention net metering is a critical policy that makes solar available to people. The Kentucky Solar Energy Society has been advocating for net metering for many years, working with numerous partners at the State House and at the Public Service Commission to ensure that net metering remains. In very, very briefly, net metering enables you to connect the solar energy system through the meter on your house, so that you can feed excess power you produce back to the utility and get credited for the energy that you produce. Kentucky Utilities and LG&E, which serve the Lexington and Louisville areas and much of the rural area of the state as well, they have a rate case before the Public Service Commission right now. The Kentucky Solar Energy Society is convening. KU and LG&E are trying to reduce the compensation that customers using net metering receive, which is very unfair. And we've submitted testimony in the case explaining why that is unfair and unreasonable. And there's a hearing coming up in Lexington on October 14th, where the public can voice their opinions about this. And there is a hearing in Frankfort beginning November 3rd. So I would encourage everyone listening who is a customer of KU or LG&E to come out to the hearing or submit a comment via email and urge the Public Service Commission to support net metering and to oppose the rate increases being proposed by KU and LG&E.
That's great. Yeah, I did not realize there was an open rate case on those very important issues. So thanks for alerting us to that, Andy. And yeah, definitely encourage folks to get involved. The PSC is like this agency that very few people have heard of, but has an enormous impact on you as somebody who pays an electric bill, right? And what those electric providers are able to do or allowed to do. So yeah, really important to people watchdog those entities. Kentuckians for Energy Democracy does a pretty good job watching that, and folks like Andy and his Solar Energy Society as well. So thank you so much for coming on, and thanks for all the work you do for solar in Kentucky, Andy.
Thanks for having me. It's been great talking with you.
Awesome. So yeah, we're gonna move on now for our, I think, rural voter chat and chew. Folks know, like, we think rural voters are really important. We know that, this is, if you look at those candidates that just, we just heard about their launch stories and their bios, like a lot of folks come from rural Kentucky, and really important that we connect with folks who are not in the urban areas, because if Democrats want to win, they can't win on urban areas alone. It's just the math, So Nate's dog agrees.
Addie concurs with her dear colleague.
I love Addie. All right. So speaking of people who love Addie, I'm just going to assume that Victoria's probably met Addie, because Victoria comes to us through Nate and Kit, who have a cabin out in Estill County. And so now have been connected to Estill County.
Full disclosure. Victoria and
the truth is out there now.
Are dear friends of ours, so if you think I'm being a little soft on the questions, it's not because of that.
It's just the way Nate is. Nate doesn't ask hardball questions.
I'm kind. I'm gentle.
All right. So I think Victoria's probably ready to join us now. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for informing us city slickers about what it's like out in the country. That's true.
This interview is over.
So we wanted to talk with you because, like I said, it's just the math. And the math is such that Kentucky used to be actually a very, very blue state, because every place used to be pretty darn Democratic, and things have changed. I blame Fox News, but I wanted to hear your thoughts, Victoria. What's it like being a blue dot in a pretty red county?
It is the best life I could have ever chosen for myself. I love it. It was the best decision I ever made.
Nice.
I get to have Nate as a sometimes neighbor, just a couple hollers over. I'm not from here originally, so I moved here from a suburban area. So I was born in England. Most of my family's still in England. I grew up outside of Chicago after I moved to the States, and then went to school in Indiana, and then moved to Cincinnati. And I did not like living in the city at all. It's not for me. So we made a big decision to come to Estill County, and we looked all over the place for a place to live. We drew like a 2-hour radius around Cincinnati and kind of looked through the whole area and chose Estill County. Someone told me a long time ago, it's great to move to a beautiful area, but in the end, it's the people that really matter. It's you'll ignore the mountains for a while; they just kind of fade on into the background, and it's all about the people. So, best decision I ever made. It does get lonely sometimes when it comes to politics, but fortunately, there's more to life than politics. Believe it or not, I'm sure that you think about it all the time, but it is not what I think about all the time. But I do think about it a lot.
Yeah, no, I try not to think about it all the time because that makes my life better. If I
Yeah.
don't think about it all the time, I don't, taking a step back to, like, as the kids say, go touch grass. And you've got a lot more grass around you, probably.
Yeah,
So it's easier
exactly.
probably to disconnect from the stupid idiot boxes that are, feeding us division and algorithms that make us stupid.
Yeah. So it is different. It was a bit of a culture shock moving out here. I did have to sort of reconsider a lot of the assumptions that I made about people in not just rural areas, but Kentucky and Eastern Kentucky. I learned so much about myself and people and human nature that I can't imagine learning anywhere else. So I got involved in politics in the county because I thought that it was unfair that people were ignoring people, Democrats especially in the county. But I also wanted to meet other Democrats. So it's the best way to meet people. The only way to meet people who have similar views as mine. And so I got involved in politics. The county party had really just kind of died over the past 10 years. They were not active. We had to redo all the elections, completely reinvigorate it. Found a few people who were interested in helping me do that, and we made it happen in 2017. And they elected me chair, which was not my original intent, but that's where we go. And I've been chair since 2017. So we redid the election again earlier this year or last year, and they reelected me. But it's still very active. We have people showing up all the time who are very engaged in the politics here. And I have to admit, it's a lot about local politics. The national politics is just not in our conversation a whole lot of the time. If you start talking about who's running for county judge executive, that's when people get really riled up. Who's voting for sheriff or who's running for sheriff, that's when people get really excited. People don't pay attention so much to the state level politics. I mean, they talk about it, but our numbers just don't have as much influence on it.
Right. And so when you say state level, you mean like your state rep, your state senators, and then on the federal level. So people don't want to talk about the federal level politics. They were like really are just focused on their local.
Yeah, I mean they do. They talk about it. How can you not talk about it? But when people get really excited about who's running and what's happening, it's local politics for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. And then, so what tips would you have? So as I said earlier, like we're focused on the 6th district. We think that's a really important district. Estill County is in the 6th district because, it is 16 counties that surround Lexington. So there is one urban county and a bunch of rural counties around it, and I think you can't win. We've seen the math. You can't really win just by running in Lexington. You got to get out, and so what would be your tip for, I know there's we got 4-ish candidates on the Democratic side who are running for the 6th. Sherilyn Stevenson kind of got in first, Zach Dimbo, David Kloiber, and now Aaron something or another, whose name I'm losing right now. But yeah, so there's 4 candidates. I know they're getting around, coming to as many events as possible. But what's your tips for them to come and woo your members and your voters?
Yeah. So my full-time job is in market research. I'm all about statistics. I'm all about the numbers. I'm always checking the numbers, and I make recommendations. I work with my clients to understand how to grow sales. But when it comes to politics, it's a completely different beast. It is not about the numbers. It's about the emotion, the commitment, the connection, and the loyalty and the trust. If you look at Estill County and you look at our numbers, you think, well, why should I even go there? How many votes could I possibly get from Estill County? So statistically, coming to Estill County, we are not on a highway. We're not on an interstate. You really have to make an effort to get here. It is worth the effort. Like, it's not just about the numbers. It really is about showing up, boots on the ground. The ads are great. The ads can create awareness, but it doesn't create trust. And the only way that you can convince the voters to trust you is to show up. What I have seen since I got involved is the candidates tend to come to events where there are Democrats. These people were voting for you anyway. You know, it's great that you're showing up. I want you to be at my committee meetings. I want you to be at my rally, but we were all going to vote for you anyway.
It's the primary, Victoria. They're competing with each other. Come on.
Yeah, for the primary, it makes sense. But, you know, after the primary, and you have to start, because there's so many counties, there's so much space to cover. You can't wait until you win the primary to start showing up for all the voters.
Yeah.
So you have to show up, boots on the ground, where the non-Democrats are. Like, you have to go to the football games. You have to be at the basketball game. Like, you have to get really creative and say, you know, I'm going to go to the Hardee's where all the old men hang out every morning drinking coffee, and I'm going to be behind the counter serving them their coffee. Like, you have to get that sort of very guerrilla marketing, on the ground, in people's face kind of activity. I do not understand, and this is because I'm not a policy person, I'm not a political person in reality. I do not understand why so many candidates are sitting in an office making phone calls to fundraise all the time. I don't get it. The number of times that I've asked a candidate to show up to a football game, to homecoming, to something, and they say, oh, I'm sorry, I've got to fundraise today. What are you fundraising for? I do not understand. Just show up. Like, I'm sorry, the people who are writing those fundraising checks are not at the poll center where I work on election day. Those are not the people who are actually voting. You have to be with the people who are voting and show that you can be trusted, show that you're in it for the long haul. Loyalty matters. And listen to people and listen to them, and don't tell them what they should be doing. Don't try to educate them. Listen to their real issues and just listen deeply and show them what you are suggesting and thinking about, you, how you can actually change their lives, how you can bring jobs into the area.
Yeah.
Well, this is, I mean, what you're making me think is that people like you, who are like chairs of Democratic parties in various counties, are actually amazing resources potentially for getting getting the list of places. Like you were mentioning, so there's the football game, there's the local Hardee's where the guys are hanging out drinking coffee. There's going to be things like that in every single county that someone like you could, if asked, list off. And
I have.
And you,
every candidate, here's the 10 places you need to go. Here's the people you need to talk to. Here's where you show up. Here's some ideas. I'm in marketing. I know how to market things, but I have to be honest, they often end up saying, I need to fundraise. I need to raise money for, I guess, that TV ad. That honestly, TV ads don't work in rural areas. I'm surprised anyone sees them anymore, honestly. But yeah, you spend that time in front of people, not behind a TV screen.
Yeah. And I think, while clearly you need to fundraise because you need to pay your staff and you need to do some marketing, right? And you as a marketer know that there's expense to that, right?
Yeah, there's expenses.
But yeah, the 6th district is not the most expensive one to run in. The Lexington market is not that expensive.
You're not running in Chicago. Yeah,
it's right.
You're not
it's just
in Chicago.
Right. Market, media market, and it's not that expensive. And especially now with the digital ability to kind of really micro target.
So if you are going to advertise, spend that money on the local radio station, the local newspaper, and billboards. That's what people are paying attention to in these rural areas. They're still actually buying the newspaper out here, and they are local newspapers. They come out once a week, and if you should be in that newspaper at least once a month. Just being there. And you look at the money that Amy McGrath must have raised and how she did versus the money that Jeff Young raised. And it's not that different. I mean, it's different, but it's not that different. Is it that much money different? I don't know. We've got to change our tactics.
Well, I will say this in Amy's defense, because some of that money went to me as a field organizer in
Oh.
Clark County and Montgomery County. I think it was very well spent. Maybe not the Halloween candy that was branded with the Amy McGrath logo. So that was fun.
I hadn't
And
heard
that's
about
what you
that.
knew when you have that kind of much money. But she was, she was a 3.5 points from Barr, whereas Jeff Young was like 20 points. So like, this is not a like.
But from
she
a
blew-
rural voter perspective, you look at how much money she had, and from a rural voter perspective, where we are desperate for money. I mean, Estill County does not have a Parks and Recreation department. We don't have, our hospital is, depends on fundraising. Like everything depends on grants and fundraising. So to see that much money go to a candidate and then lose is just really hard. It's just really hard to, justify that much money spent on a candidate.
3.5 points. 3.5 points.
It was close. It was close.
That's pretty close. Close as it's been.
Close as it's
We'll
been.
see.
Now, I will say, if she had run again, I think she would have won.
Yeah.
I think that is a challenge. Rural voters, they've got a long memory. They need to trust you. And I think that in order to build that trust, it takes a long time. And sometimes running twice, even 3 times, is the only way that you can really win in a rural district, because it takes that much time showing up, showing that you can, that they can trust you to really get those votes.
Yes, I was just a field organizer. I was not in the inner circle of how to tell the candidate what to do. But I was like very much like, don't stop running. Just keep running. Just do it again. Do it again.
God. Yeah.
But then, Chuck Schumer called, and apparently he was compelling. But yeah, it was, I think so I concur. Estill County is hard to get to. There's not a direct highway that gets you there. You either need to get really lost or try really hard to get there. But it's beautiful. And I definitely will be back as soon as Kit and Nate invite me back.
Always, our doors are always open. It's, and the motto is it's where the bluegrass kisses the mountains.
That's right.
That's a good one.
Yes.
Any final thoughts about how to shake the Democratic Party out of their kind of rural bad ideas and their general not prioritizing these places?
Yeah, I have to say, in the past 8-9 years I've been involved, significant improvement. Just absolutely has turned it around on how much they've focused on rural areas, thought about how to break into rural areas at the KDP level, at the state KDP level, and just completely different. I think that when I first joined, they're like, oh, Estill County, where are you located again? I mean, I hate to be that harsh, but they knew where we were at. But they were definitely not thinking that it was important to pay attention to rural counties. And that is a 180-degree difference now versus where it was. So I'm optimistic about the opportunities in rural areas. I think they're listening much better than they were to rural voters and what they need. And I think we have some really good candidates who are just a great fit for what rural voters are looking for. So I'm very optimistic. It's hard to stay optimistic in these days, but you got to keep your hope up.
That's great to hear. I'm very glad we had you on then, Victoria. That's positive news. Bring it on. Yeah, and I don't know if you had seen Logan's launch video before, but that seems like, I don't know, if I was a rural voter, it seems like I'm any voter that's not a billionaire. This seems like a guy that gets, that life's not super easy, right? He's not Garland Hale Barr the fourth. Might not be as familiar with some of those travails,
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good start to the video. I'm looking forward to meeting him. I'm sure that he will be out here in Estill County. He's actually already reached out to the committee, so already moving forward in the right direction. So I think that, I'm optimistic, and we need to focus on as local as we can get. And that's the way we win. The other suggestion I have is, if you're an activist, join a civic organization that is not politically focused, and get involved in something that is, achieving goals and working with people who are not, don't think just like you. And, I think that's the foundation of our democracy. It's the only way that will save democracy is for more people to get involved again in the Moose Lodge, the JCs, the Kiwanis, all of those organizations that bring people together of different thoughts and minds to work together and accomplish goals together. It's the only way that we're going to save democracy.
So Victoria says, do not join the Estill County Dems, but she would prefer you to join the Elks Lodge.
Yeah, the Kiwanis in Estill County, very powerful here.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Kiwanis, the Masons, whatever.
I would love.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and I think that's a really good tip. Don't just hang out with people that think like you.
Yeah, please don't. Yeah, we're hurting ourselves. Let me tell you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been just really a pleasure chatting with you. And so I see why Kit and Nate speak so highly.
Aw, thanks.
Oh, yeah. We'll keep up the great work. We'll make sure that, any candidates we check in with here in Fayette County or in Franklin County, we tell them, hey, have you talked to the folks in Estill County yet?
I am happy to help them open doors.
Excellent.
Yay.
Awesome. Cool. So we're going to move on. We've got to close out. We got a call to action, a few calls to action that we need to get through because we're busy. We're gearing up. There's a lot going on. And I think I'll go ahead and do the Sunday reprise. We mentioned this, right? Our call to action is stop mainlining bad news from the devil box in your pocket. Get outside.
The devil box.
Or inside in the case of the summit that's coming up. But get some community. We've got 3 upcoming opportunities to hang out with Progress Kentucky. They're coming up quick. You heard about Sunday. That is literally on Sunday. Go ahead and join us there. Like I said, for all Progress Kentucky fans and followers, you show up there at the end of the thing. By the end of the thing, I will go and meet up at the West 6 Farm. So just around the road, Franklin County Extension Office from 2 to 4 p.m. this Sunday. Then our next up event, join us online at the Forward Kentucky Summit. If you watched or listened last week, woohoo. This is from Bruce Maples, Forward Kentucky. He's got Annabelle and I on tap to help out there. Annabelle's going to be hosting one track. I'm going to be hosting another track. Bruce will be hosting the third track, but 18 amazing speakers. These are folks who really know what they're talking about. They're going to help you level up your efforts to change the Kentucky political landscape. It is Saturday, September 28th from 9 to 4 p.m. You can register and find out more details with the link that's in the show notes or in the chat right now. And then the third one, which is coming up, it's a month out basically, is No Kings. So they've been claiming this is going to be the biggest day of protest in U.S. history, which is a pretty big claim. So that's happening. And there's a big crew putting together an event in Lexington. That's October 18th. We are helping co-convene that along with Bluegrass Activist Alliance and the amazing coalition of activists who've put together the previous iterations and big mass mobilizations. But, as Trump's, leaping authoritarianism, takes on new contours as they get the money to scale up ICE to be the largest single, militarized police force besides the U.S. military on the face of the planet. That's what we're going to have to contend with. We need to fight back. We need to make sure people know that, we're not going to give up our freedom of speech just because a right-wing provocateur, paid a horrible price in our horrible society that has way too many guns available, and they won't do anything about guns. So, why are we the ones who are the evil folks here? So I think there's a lot to do. No Kings is going to be really important. So head to nokings.org to find out more and to register for an event near you, or to create an event if there's nowhere near you. If you're say in Estill County, hang out with the Masons and the Elks and start up an event where you are. All right. That's mostly it. Thank you so much, Nate, for coming back. I always appreciate a chance to hang out with you online.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Do you mind closing us out?
I would be happy to, and then I will introduce the world to my cat, Zola.
Oh.
So, Zola, tell the folks about how Progress Kentucky is a nonprofit organization registered with the Kentucky Secretary of State and organized as a 501c4. We are affiliated with the Indivisible Project and the Common Ground Kentucky Action, and we are also proud members, as you just heard a couple minutes ago, of the Forward Kentucky Network. Woot woot. Progress Kentucky's goal is to educate, organize, increase voter turnout, and advance a progressive agenda through civic engagement. Hey, where do you think you're going? Please join us next week for our 229th episode with a special guest who we're not announcing quite yet. Production of this episode, episode 228, was by Parker the Great. Nate Orshan wrote and performed our theme song. That's me. And you can find more information about my music at natosongs.com. If you miss our weekly live stream on Facebook or YouTube, audio podcasts and our show notes are both available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. And if you do listen to the pod, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you are listening right now. We'd be so grateful. That's it, folks. You have yourself a good, productive week, and we will see you next Wednesday.